Well, it seems so appropriate that our 100th episode of Secrets to Abundant Living podcast is with my incredible mom, Susan Sylvis. We call her Mama Sylvis. That's our term of endearment for her. Thank you all so much for being here for 100 episodes. This is, it's been so much fun. It is a ton of work, but really appreciate all of you enjoying the podcast, leaving ratings and reviews and all of that great stuff, sharing the podcast with friends and family that you think could benefit from listening. So this has just been really, really special to hit 100 episodes. And of course, my mom is the woman and the person that I admire most in life. She's warm, she's caring, she's smart, she's funny. She prioritizes all the right things in life, her family, God, her health, giving back, her friends, her community, all while, doing it with a smile and her own incredible humor. I am a bit more like my dad. I'm a bit more extroverted. My mom is definitely a bit more introverted. So it took a bit of persuading to get her on the podcast. In true Mama Sylvis form, she decided to do this because she thought maybe telling part of her story could add value to other people, could encourage and, give some hope to other folks. She doesn't like to talk about herself, and I get that. I'm not a huge fan of talking about myself either. I'd way rather hear about other people and learn from them and ask them questions. So I just wanted to kind of just give this context before we dive into the episode, because being on camera, being recorded is just not her thing. She's a amazing one-on-one, person, but she's just not a lady that loves the spotlight. So shout out to my mom for doing this, even though it probably wasn't her first choice. It was really special to kind of ask her questions and try to highlight as best as I could just a small sliver of how absolutely incredible she is. And if you listen all the way to the end, which I encourage you to, it ends with what I think is a funny story that I think you all will enjoy. All right, well, here we go. Thanks again for tuning in to learn a bit more about my personal hero and my role model, my amazing mom, Susan Sylvis. Hey there, are you a California landlord or investor feeling completely squeezed by California's ridiculous rent control laws, long evictions, and never-ending rules and regulations? You are not alone. But hey, here's the good news. You are also not stuck. The Get Out of California Summit is your opportunity to learn how other successful investors are selling their California properties and moving their investment money to smarter and potentially even more profitable markets. At this free online event, you'll discover why investing outside of California is way easier than you may think, how to legally and simply mitigate your tax burden while exiting California, yay, where the savviest investors are going and why, the steps to shift your investments without losing momentum, and how to partner with proven experts for hands-off income and growth. All right, so this is occurring on Wednesday, January 21st at 9 a.m. Pacific time. It is over Zoom and it's completely free, so make sure to register at getoutofcasummit.com. That's get out of CA for California, summit.com. Hey, if you're driving, the link is in the show notes. So just click there, make sure to save your spot because this is your chance to learn how to invest smarter outside of California. Can't wait to see you then. I have an incredibly special guest today, probably my favorite of all time. So welcome everyone to the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. For those who don't know me, my name is Amy Sylvis. I'm the founder and CEO of Sylvis Capital. We connect investors to hands-off real estate investment opportunities. But more importantly, I have my incredible, amazing role model of a mom as a guest today on the podcast. And I just couldn't be more delighted. Mom, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, my pleasure.
This is probably the least favorite thing for my mom to do. Everyone give my mom a big virtual hug because if there's something she hates more in life, it's talking about herself. And I'm not really a big fan of talking about myself. So we're both going to get through this together, right, Mom?
Yes.
we'll somehow make this work. No, but in all seriousness, those of you, you've probably heard me talk about my mom if you followed me on social media or know anything about my story, but I just admire her so much. And I felt remiss not having her on the podcast for you all to meet her, learn from her, know a bit more about her story and her journey. So yeah, I'm really excited to kick this off, Mom.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Well, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? We know your name is Susan, or maybe folks don't even know that, but yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself. And we've got some questions that came in from the audience, which is really cool that we'll ask you and we'll take it from there.
Okay. I don't know how far back you want me to start, but I was born in Michigan and we moved out here when I was 3 or 4 and we moved out here. And I'm debating whether to mention that we lived in Compton for a while. Amy never lets me forget that.
You've got some street cred, Mom. Come on. Compton in the
I'm
60s. Let's go.
I'm the second oldest of 10 children. There are 5 girls, 5 boys. And it was a pretty strict Catholic upbringing. And then I got married and had 1 child, and here I am.
You've had an incredibly successful interior design business.
Yes, I'm an interior designer.
Yep. And you've been the cornerstone of growing Dad's construction business.
Yes, I've helped a lot with growing and maintaining his business.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. What are some of your favorite hobbies?
I like to work out. Not exactly a hobby. Antiquing, going to flea markets. I like interior design as a profession and as a hobby.
Yeah.
And I like reading and trying to think. I like traveling. We haven't been able to do very much recently, but I love to travel.
You're a big family lady?
Big family lady.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have most of my extended family lives nearby, and I like the entertaining, and I have the room for entertaining, and no one else in my family likes to entertain, so it's all on me, which I love. So we get together a lot, and it's really fun.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, what do you say we start off with some questions that the audience wrote in? Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, sounds good.
I'm going to give just a tiny bit of background, though, because it's going to come up a little bit. You are the second of 10 children. You decided to just have 1. I live with cystic fibrosis, which for those who don't know what that is, it is a genetic condition. So both of my parents are silent carriers. They had no idea that they were carriers of this illness or that they'd have a 1 in 4 chance of having a child with the disease. And when I was born, the doctors when I was diagnosed at 6 months old, the doctors told you what? I'd live to be 8 or 9 years old, approximately.
Yeah.
So what was I said I'd start off with questions, but I just want to kind of frame this because it'll come up a few times. What was that like making the decision about whether or not to have another child, knowing that the prognosis was pretty grim and you could have another child with the illness? If you don't mind talking to that.
Oh, yeah, no. It was a very easy decision for me because, knowing ahead of time that I might bring a baby into the world that would suffer and be in pain and maybe die young, I wasn't willing to take that chance at all. So I was completely fine with the decision to just have 1.
Okay. Did you all ever consider, was that ever something you reconsidered, or was that just pretty straightforward?
We reconsidered when you were 9 and you kept harassing us to have a second child. So we really did consider it for about a year.
Yeah.
And actually at that point, there was a test for CF, so we could test ahead of time for CF, but because of my religious beliefs and things like that, I wasn't going to abort a baby. So the whole decision was just off the table.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, definitely makes sense. Yeah. Things seem to be, we're blessed and fortunate enough that, I mean, I had CF, but it wasn't, at least in those early years, as kind of catastrophic, right?
Yeah,
Am I characterizing that right?
Wasn't the worst case scenario at all.
Right.
It was a lot of hard times and sick off and on and all that, but it just, I mean, I know a lot of families that had a child with CF, and it definitely wasn't as bad as it can get.
Yeah. Yeah. And you decided to, and this impresses me, the older I get, I'm 44 for those who don't know. So the older I get, the more I just have more context and admiration for my mom. and my dad and how my family handled this, but you made the conscientious choice to stay at home, not take a job outside of the home. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I mean, I know there's kind of your principles that guide you there too, but I'm wondering if that was influenced by having cystic me, having a child with CF, or what was that decision like for you?
Well, I always knew that I was going to stay home.
Okay. All
Until
right.
child age. Yeah, it was really important to me. I had been studying a lot of early childhood education and just the ultimate way to raise a child. So I knew I was going to stay home. When you had CF, I was extremely grateful that we had planned it, and we had always planned for us to have a child and for me to stay home once we knew we could live on one salary. So
Okay.
that was a decision ahead of time. So I was just really glad we did that because it worked perfectly then with
Yeah.
having CF.
I'm proud of how hard you and dad, worked. It's not as though either of your parents gave you money to live off of. You all built, your financial life, on your own. And I would imagine there were sacrifices that had to be made because we didn't grow up, extremely wealthy, right? I remember you telling me we're just
Mhm.
kind of an average middle class home. My father just turned 71 years old, your husband, and he still does manual labor, which is just incredible. So we lived an average life, but I would imagine with medical bills and you staying home, and there were sacrifices you all made financially. I mean, emotionally, we can get into that too, but I'm imagining it wasn't a perfectly smooth road to make that choice. Can you talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind?
Yeah, no, yeah, it wasn't a smooth road. I think I kept my expectations right realistic and right where they should be. And I didn't get caught up with the peer pressure of getting new cars and better houses and going into debt and all that. So in a way, I mean, I guess looking from the outside, it might have looked like it was hard for us, but it wasn't really because we just kept our spending right where it should be. So yeah, so it was just fine. And
Okay.
dad had a good job and worked hard and had work all those years. He was never out of work and all that. So we didn't have to worry about a big layoff I mean, he's self-employed, but we didn't have to worry about anything like that. So,
See.
yeah, yeah, it wasn't bad.
Okay.
Mhm.
I think your reply reminds me of really how principled you and dad are. You all decide what needs to be done, what the right thing is to do, and you find ways to make it work. And maybe I'm missing this. Maybe you all just didn't let me know, but it doesn't seem like you all kind of wallowed in, the tough aspects of life because things can get tough. I mean, it's just part of it. But what you just said really reminds me of what I admire about you all of, hey, we made this decision. We felt like it was the best thing to do. Yeah, maybe we didn't have the newest cars or, the nicest things to keep up with the Joneses, but we were very fixed on kind of that North Star of the decision we made. And yeah, we just went with it. And that's what we did.
Yeah, exactly.
That's impressive. That's in today's day and age. I mean, I appreciated, it growing up, I think to some extent, but just as I get older, it's really something I admire and try to follow in my life too, because I think it serves you quite well. It serves all of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, it did.
So some folks, as you can imagine, are really interested in just hearing more about you in various aspects, as it pertains to me or just, life in general. So some of these questions are a little too flattering for me, so I'm going to avoid them. But what my former doctor asked, when you're talking to other mothers who shared their feelings about their daughter's wedding day, how was yours different, if at all?
Oh, it's really funny. I didn't really even realize this till way later, but I never talked to you about getting married because I never thought you were going to get married. And so it was never a subject. It wasn't not talked about, but you didn't talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You weren't a girly girl planning your wedding at, 10 years old or anything.
Yeah.
So it never came up and I never thought about it. And even as you got to be an adult, it wasn't something that you were, chasing after. I mean, eventually I realized that you did want to be married, but you weren't chasing after getting
Yeah.
married. So at that point, then it was just like anybody else, you're in their late 20s, you want to get married, and that's the way it was.
How did you feel though on my wedding day. Did it feel maybe differently than what you expected? Or even if you didn't have any expectations, did you talk to your peers and they talk about their daughters, getting married and their wedding day? Did anything feel different or similar? What was that like for you?
Well, it felt different in the way that I realizing all those years I never thought you'd be able to get married
Okay.
or be alive to get married. So it
Yeah.
was extremely exciting. And I was so grateful for that whole day. And the wedding was perfect. And we loved your husband, Joel. So yeah, it was a huge milestone in the, considering CF and all you lived through and all that kind of stuff. So we were extremely excited.
That makes sense. It just kind of hitting you of, hey, I just didn't really, yeah, it wasn't something that I centered and it wasn't something you kind of thought would happen given my prognosis. So yeah, that I could imagine all of that kind of flooding at you and going, oh my gosh, okay. I didn't even
Yeah.
realize that was kind of going on in the
Yeah.
background.
Yeah, there'll be a wedding. I didn't know.
That's fascinating. That's really, really fascinating. What I think this brings up a really interesting thing, Mom, that I probably didn't show a ton of gratitude for when I was younger, but as a midlife woman, I get, there was a lot of stuff that I think you could have done to put you and dad to put me in a bubble, shelter me, protect me from the world, maybe have different expectations. But, at least from my perspective, you all expected me to go to school, study, get good grades. I mean, of course, if I was sick, there were times that I remember, there had to be, some accommodations, but it's not as though you all didn't expect me to go to college or didn't expect me to study when I was healthy and able-bodied, or you didn't expect me to try to find a career that could accommodate me, or we can talk about finances, but even pay my own bills and find a way to support myself. Was that a hard decision? Was that something that came naturally to you? What was that like in that respect?
Again, I was studying all those years before I had you, and
Yeah.
even you were talking about what the best way to raise a child, help them be confident, self-sufficient, according to their age and all that kind of stuff. So that
Yeah.
was kind of ingrained in me. But when you were about 2 years old and you were diagnosed at 6 months, I don't know why it hit me, but all of a sudden I realized I had to choose quantity over quality. So I had to really decide whether I was going to keep you in a bubble and keep you safe for me so that I didn't get too scared and, all of that kind of thing. And I saw quite a few people around me with their child in a bubble. They were just kind of a CF family instead of I have a child that has CF. And I just knew for sure we didn't want to be that way. I wanted you to have a life as much as you could. So I just made the decision to look at the quality of your life and, of course, with common sense with CF. But
Yeah.
so it wasn't, that part wasn't a hard decision.
But weren't you scared? Weren't there times where you're like, oh my gosh, this has a risk? Or, what if this sets her health off in a direction that could be, irreparable in terms of damage or anything
Well,
like that?
because you weren't extremely sick,
Okay.
I was able to just kind of keep an eye on everything. And if it looked
Yeah.
like you were getting too tired or you're kind of getting a cold, then I just scaled back on things. But
Okay.
yeah, so I mean, I was scared the whole time you were crying.
Okay.
But
That's normal. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, we did scale back but I didn't really worry that the next time you go outside or the next time you're around children, you're going to get sick. I just didn't have that kind of anxiety about it.
It's incredible. I mean,
Um,
the choices you were able to make, from going to, for me, going to sleepaway camp, a class
Mhm.
trip to Washington, D.C. with my peers,
Yeah.
living abroad in college.
And all of it was focusing on you having the best life and the best choices and all that. So that was at the forefront of my mind. So that made a lot of those decisions really clear. They weren't always easy, but they were really clear. Like,
Yeah.
there's no reason to keep you back from a lot of that stuff. You weren't sick and it was great experiences.
Yeah. If I was sicker, do you think the decisions would have been more difficult for that quality versus quantity?
Yeah, it would definitely be more, well, the quality would have been less. I would still push for the quality of your life, but I mean, obviously, I'd have to be careful and be smart about what you did.
Yeah.
If you were going to get sick, like if you got, really sick every time you went on a trip or something, then I would definitely have to rethink that
Yeah. Yeah.
and kind of modify it. I think there's always a way to get around it to get some good quality in there and some experiences. But yeah, I would definitely had to change things.
I'm tremendously grateful. I can't fathom. You and I were talking a few days ago just about, I think it was 4 or so years ago, you got COVID and
Mhm.
how, you're fine, but just how jarring it was for me, to see you sick and hear you sick. And, you and dad take such great care of yourselves and you've been really blessed to be very healthy. But it really kind of gave me this perspective change because I'm always the sick one and most of my loved ones are incredibly healthy. So to be able to imagine what it would be like to have to make that decision and navigate, that balance of quality versus quantity. And quite frankly, I struggled with that making my own decisions as an adult of,
Yeah.
I don't, yeah, I mean, there's got to be a reason, to have fun and enjoy and grow, but also, there can be these pretty catastrophic consequences, especially pre-Trikafta, that miracle drug that I got 6 years ago. So
Yeah.
I just really admire how you were able to navigate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Huge gift.
Mhm.
Huge gift. Do you think being the second of 10 children and babysitting and, getting experience with, not just one younger child, but a whole bunch of your siblings, do you think any of that kind of just molded you a little bit or gave you more confidence or experience that was applicable to raising a sick child, do you think?
Well, looking back, it had to have. I never
Yeah.
noticed until just the last few years, but
Yeah.
so much is, yeah, there's so much that I just am so used to, I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
So it did make a huge difference. I think that, yeah, I could see raising kids and what, the process, what works, what doesn't work. And yeah,
Yeah. You're a pretty even keel type of lady anyway, but
anyway,
I
yeah.
think the first time moms, it makes sense to have jitters and be concerned and right. We all see the difference
Yeah.
between how women and couples raise their firstborn versus their third or even their fourth. There's like, okay, I get it. I've seen this. I don't get rattled by the ups and downs as much. I kind of know how this can go and how to handle various scenarios. So I know we've had those conversations before. Yeah, go ahead.
It was a little hard when you first came home from the hospital because
Oh, I'm sure.
in the hospital, they were there and they'd bring you to me and all that. And I just remember when I got home and I thought, why am I nervous? I shouldn't be nervous. I've done this 1,000 times. And then you start crying and I kind of looked at people over and I was like, well, who's going to get that? Because I don't know what to do. And she's crying. So it didn't take long, but it did take a day, to really kind of just get into it.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it's not just your first, child that's your own, but then obviously, a diagnosis of being sick is, yeah, that's so interesting. Let's see. So I love this question. One of my friends asked how you raised a child with such an abundance mindset. I'm going to weigh into this as well, but I'm curious. He followed up and he was like, hey, is this something, Amy, you studied on your own, or is this something that your parents kind of intentionally instilled in you? I've got kind of my own ideas, but I'd love to hear your thoughts because I think you've got an incredible abundance mindset. So I want to hear kind of your perspective, Mom.
Can you define abundance for me and for everyone?
Okay. Good follow-up question. Good follow-up question. I think this idea of, hey, there's more than enough for everyone. So, if I have a limited resource, do I protect it and think, oh my gosh, I better hold on to this really tight because yeah, there's limited amounts. And what if I lose kind of my thing? Or do I say, okay, there's a limited amount, but I'm going to still share what I have per people's needs. I think of, the Clorox wipes during COVID or the N95 masks that were limited, those were all limited. That was objectively true. And, some of us needed those resources more than others, but if we came across other people that needed them, do we still give that freely, knowing that there's the trusting in God that our needs will still be met, or we just kind of hoard it and kind of move inward and compress just to protect ourselves? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what was the question again?
How did you raise me with that mindset? Or did you?
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I did. think that it was important for you to give back and for you to help other people.
Uh-huh.
So I had you volunteering and doing different things for things that we did a lot of CF fundraising and all that,
Yeah.
but for other charities that didn't have anything to do with CF, just so that you could get kind of a rounded overview of, again, your whole life isn't CF. There are people out there who need help too and all that. So I think that, yeah, I think that helped a lot. And I think being an entrepreneur, which raised that way, I was raised that way, I think that mindset helps balance that too. Like there is enough for anybody who wants to just do what they want to do and go as far as they want to go. So I see both those qualities in you, that you definitely give back, even though, could be just thinking about your CF all the time. And also you have the entrepreneur spirit and philosophy, which shows you that whatever you want to do, you can, you can't accomplish everything. I'm not saying that, but
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur, you can have as much as you're willing to work for.
All right. That makes sense. I appreciate that. Yeah. I do remember the volunteering. I definitely remember that example you and dad gave for many charities. I think candidly, what resonated with me the most, though, was seeing how you and dad treated other people who needed things. And I'm sure the volunteering and charity work impacted me too, but I can think of many examples where there are people in our family or friends that are looking for extra work, and you'll give them, employment and things to do to hold them over until they get their other job, or they're sick and they can't work, and you'll find a way to help, or you have things either that you're no longer needing or someone gives them to you and you make sure that they find a home. Dad's business, for those who aren't in construction, can be pretty up and down, and I don't ever remember growing up a time when, and maybe I wasn't privy to these conversations, but I don't remember a time when you and dad still weren't looking out for other people just because money was scarce or the economy was down or the real estate industry was tough. There wasn't this sense of, oh, we better pull back and make sure we have enough before we give to others. That seemed to just be a way that you all have always lived. Maybe my perception's wrong. I'm curious.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I hadn't really thought about that ever, but
Yeah.
my parents were like that growing up, and
Ah,
I was growing up, yeah. And there's just always something you can do or provide or help with for anybody, no matter what you're going through yourself or what the money situation is and all that. So
yeah.
yeah, that's pretty clear to me.
I've told this to dad and he just kind of looks at me like, of course. But even how I've heard dad talk about how he runs his business, and, the construction industry can be, I guess, I don't have a ton of experience myself other than my own business, but I guess people can feel kind of hoodwinked or maybe misled. And dad's mindset of, hey, I might not be the cheapest guy. I'm not going to be the most expensive, but I'm going to be honest. I'm going to tell you what you need, be very forthright with what this business transaction is going to look like. And hey, sometimes I'm going to tell you, you don't need my services. You should go over to Bob over here and he'll be, he'll do the tiny little thing that needs to be done and you'll end up saving money. And hey, even if it means I'm going to lose out on some income, that's still the right thing to do. I think that's a huge abundance mindset of, I'm going to trust that God, or whatever your view is, I'm still going to be able to pay my bills and get, what I need financially, but I can still do the right thing. And if it means passing up on business.
Yeah, yeah, the integrity just so far outweighs just making more money.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. It's fascinating. How you feeling? Are these questions really uncomfortable? You hanging in there?
You're fine. I'm fine.
Okay, good. Let me make sure. It is really kind that you're doing this, Mom. I know this is not your favorite thing. My friend and mentor Jerome wants to know, what's the secret for staying married for so long? How long have you and dad been married?
48 years.
48 years.
Yeah. The secret, I think, forgiving as quick as you can.
Ah,
And
that's
yeah,
great.
keeping a sense of humor for all the things that aren't really important, like the little irritations and annoyances and all that. Sense
Yeah.
of humor helps a lot. And I think just the commitment, just honoring the commitment, within reason. If things got abusive or something, that
Yeah.
have to pull apart. But I think just with knowing that the commitment is there and that's for life, I think you can really find ways to make it work.
Okay.
And to be happy with.
Yeah. It helps that you and dad have that humor and then also that commitment, right?
Yeah.
I can see that being you and dad seem to always be having fun. At least that's my perception.
He's pretty funny. Yeah, we are. We've
Yeah.
got.
Well, he's pretty funny and you're a really good sport and a good audience, right? So
Yeah.
that's perfect. If both of you are constantly trying to be the
Yeah.
funny ones or need to be the audience, that's what was it that has sustained you through the toughest parts of your life?
Let's see. My faith obviously has sustained me
Yeah.
through most of it. There was a time when I was raised Catholic, but there was a time when I wasn't paying attention to God or anything like that. So luckily, catastrophes didn't happen during that time. But after that, I think my faith mainly, and really the commitment to doing the right thing. I know it probably sounds stupid, but
No.
if you can, I mean, if I could just look past what was going on and just make sure I was staying on the right track and doing the right thing, not breaking down or not breaking down, but not taking shortcuts that weren't correct or moral or legal or anything like that, felt really good. It felt good to me, even when I was going through a hard time, knowing I was going to do that and that there'd be there's like a beginning, a middle, and an end to every hard time. So I could just kind of keep pushing to get to the end of that.
So this theme again of kind of aligning yourself and keeping front and center kind of that North Star, whether it's the moral or the ethical or the legal, or maybe all of them combined, but keeping that and knowing, having your faith. And your faith, I think, also informs, I could be wrong, kind of this concept of there's always a beginning, a middle, and an end. Is that where that concept comes from? Okay. So knowing nothing goes on forever, for good or for worse.
Yeah.
I'll,
You just have to,
yeah, that's
know
impressive.
what you're going through.
Yeah. Your family, it's impossible to be extremely close with, all 9 of your siblings, I would imagine, but there does seem to be some camaraderie and support and really deep, meaningful relationships there as well that, not everyone is fortunate enough to have such a big family, which has its pluses and minuses, but I would imagine, some of that has helped too.
Yeah, it has helped a lot. Yeah, I think we're all in each other's camp, and I think we all care enough about each other to see each one succeed and to have a good relationship and a personal relationship. So I think it's all those years of doing so much together when we were young, we had to do, and now it's kind of paid off as having close relationships with just about everybody. Really helpful.
Hey, are you fed up with California's ever increasing real estate regulations? Ooh, you are not alone, but guess what? Your path to less tenant headaches and more freedom starts here. The Get Out of California Summit will walk you through how other California landlords are successfully and easily investing outside of the state to protect and grow your wealth. At the summit, you will learn how to easily and simply invest in real estate outside of California, 2 key and simple strategies to mitigate taxes when selling your California investments, what to consider when researching new markets across the United States to invest in, and so much more. Hey, we'd love to see you on Wednesday, January 21st at 9 a.m. Pacific time. This summit is free. It is virtual over Zoom. So make sure to reserve your free spot now at getoutofcasummit.com. That's getoutofca for California summit.com. And hey, we'll also put that link in the show notes so you can easily register. So make sure to reserve your spot for free and join us for the roadmap to take control of your financial future. Can't wait to see you then. Don't forget to register right now. That's great. I want to return to this idea because I'm fascinated by it. I think our audience might be too, but people are often shocked to hear that given how expensive CF is and that it was tough for me to hold down a job sometimes, that I've paid my own rent and my own housing, my food, my medical, my hobbies, and started this business on my own. since I was 22. So you and dad paid for college graciously, which I will never be able to repay you for. I'm so grateful for that head start. But everything else, I would imagine, even for myself, if I had a sick child, I'd really, I'd feel this kind of pull to kind of intervene. I'm grateful for the fact that you've allowed me to stand on my own 2 feet. Hasn't always been easy, but can you talk through kind of that decision and that mindset, if you wouldn't mind?
Yeah. Well, we definitely to us, yeah, but we would definitely intervene if you really needed the
Of
help.
course. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
I should have said that. No, of
yeah.
course.
So besides that,
Yeah.
I think it's just kind of the same philosophy that I had raising you, that which was you're not going to feel good about yourself, you're not going to feel confident, you're not going to be successful unless you do it your way and do it on your own. And, and you were doing that. And luckily, I think it had a lot to do with the way I was raising you, but luckily you were that way anyway. So it was very, very easy with you for you to catch on to that idea because you were doing things on your own from a very young age, very surprisingly. And so you just naturally live that way, even on your own. Yeah. So made it a lot easier. You could have had a different personality, but
Yeah.
yeah. And I think, I just don't think you can be a happy, well-minded, successful adult if you have somebody stepping in, bailing you out or taking over for you or controlling it. It just doesn't, I don't think it can work.
Yeah. That makes sense. Did you ever wonder or worry if kind of this drive for independence and self-sufficiency would have a downside of, oh, I work myself too much and then that would make me more sick. And it would be kind of this downward spiral. And maybe, that wasn't a good idea at any point. Did you ever doubt yourself?
No, no, I didn't doubt myself.
Okay.
I kind of kept an eye on it. I was kind of watching to see what you were doing, but you caught yourself. And yeah, and you were very careful about doing too much, or if you had been doing too much looking back, then you kind of scaled back. So you had a really good sense about taking care of yourself in that way and keeping the controls around it. So I watched from a distance, but I never felt like, oh my gosh, I better step in here real quick because you always caught yourself before it got that far. Yeah, you're really good at that.
Ah, there were a lot of, it felt like I was learning how to walk, right? Because no one, for you or for
Yeah.
there weren't a lot of, hey, here's the rule book of how to raise a child with cystic fibrosis, or here's how to be an adult and figure out how to work or what kind of job and, enjoy life, but don't get too sick, but save, but also live for today. And,
Really tough.
yeah, how long are you going to live?
Yeah.
All of that stuff. So there were definitely a lot of trials and errors on my end.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the tough part with CF, I probably should have mentioned this earlier, is the lung function deterioration. You don't get that back. So the consequences of making these mistakes can be
Yeah.
so high because, oh, well, I'm just learning how to navigate working and not overdoing it and making myself sick. Well, guess what? You mess up and you've lost 10% of your lung function that you're never getting back. So it's a, thankfully, I can't say it enough. This new drug has given me a completely new lease on life. But
It was really hard for you, really hard for you, pretty much every step of the way, making the step from going to college and then working and then graduate school and then other jobs. I mean, every step was very difficult, and you really had to work hard to figure it out and find your way through all that. That was hard to watch. That was really, really tough because, there wasn't, I mean, I could offer moral support, but there really wasn't anything I can do to help that. I didn't know what to do. Plus, I knew that you'd have to pretty much figure it out unless, there was something obvious I could add to it.
yeah.
Really struggling trying to get through all that. And then you did every step of the way and you figured it out and did a great job.
Well, it helps when you've got a parents who care so much and are willing to listen and support. So that I'm forever grateful.
Wow.
What was that like sending me off to college to leave the house? Because I would imagine, you gave me a long leash, raising me, but you were watching. It wasn't like I was just this free roam child. So it was this balance, right? Of learn to be more independent, but also you got this condition that could kill you. So we got to watch it. And then it's, oh, by the way, you're going off to college. and this big change of this day-to-day caretaking and watching and monitoring to, okay, she's gone, living somewhere else. What was that like? Just as a mom and as a mom of a kid with CF?
As a mom, I was excited for you because it was the next step and because you were excited. If you weren't excited, like some kids are, it would be
Oh,
devastating. But you were really excited. And then also it was close by, which really helped.
yeah.
I could get to you, you could get to us if you needed to.
Yeah.
So in that way, that was pretty exciting. I did, of course, I had all kinds of fears about getting sick and all that, but you were close to, I guess I'm just too practical to be emotional. You're close to, to the USC doctors. And
Yeah.
I had started when you were, well, even before you were 13, but in a major way, when you were 12 and 13, I started you having taking over your own medical care. You had to talk to the doctor yourself. You got your car purposely so that you could drive yourself to appointments and kind of just took a few steps in that direction so that by the time you're 18, it wasn't a huge shock like, oh my gosh, how am I going to take care of myself? Someone else has been doing all this kind of stuff. Yeah, we kind of paced that out. So I was confident about that. And you were so good about doing your meds that I was really confident about, yeah, about that happening. I mean, there was only one time when you were the night before you turned 13 where you decided you were never going to do any medication again. And you were not, it took us 4 hours to get through that conversation. You were done. You just had it and anyway, so got past that. It was very sad. And it's a very common, and it just broke my heart because of course you were just very sick of it. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, it was, so by the time you left for college, you had all the treatments down and you were again, just like you were very determined to stay healthy and very determined to do it on your own and to do it right. So I mean, I did my stuff, but I was so blessed to have you who really, you know, had that personality that you're just important to you to do, no, really in a good way, really, really important to you to do the right thing and to take care of what you had to take care of.
I appreciate that. I think you and dad made it really clear, which I think was enormously helpful, that these were the consequences, right? It wasn't like punishment. It just was, if you want these really fun, I love to travel. I love to be around people. I couldn't wait, as you said, to go off to college and be on my own and have that freedom. The key to doing that was doing these breathing treatments every day. For those who don't know, I do a nebulizer treatment that takes about a half hour. I wear a vest that shakes me around. I have to take digestive enzymes every single time I eat. I got older. This was years later. In my early 30s, I got CF related diabetes because my pancreas decided we're out. But I think it was really helpful how much you and dad just made it a very practical choice. Obviously, sounds like on that night before my 13th birthday, it wasn't as clear, but I'm sure that was a pivotal moment too of, realizing what was in my control and the choices to really set me up.
Yeah.
To just understand, hey, if you want to do these things, this is the portal through
Yeah.
which you must go. So
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
practical.
Not really unlike raising a child,
Mm. Yeah.
but this was just happened to be the CF topic.
Yeah.
And it's kind
Yeah.
of like the same thing that every parent goes through.
Yeah. Do you have a funny story of raising me that made you giggle or made you just go, "Oh my gosh, God, the personality on this one. What is okay." Yes.
Yeah.
Without hesitation. Okay, let's go.
Okay. This was first grade in a new school. You'd gone to that school for summer school, so to get you a little bit acquainted, so you kind of knew some friends and all that. But about the second month of first grade, you came home and you said, I'm going to tell everybody about CF in my class. And and I said, oh, did your teacher ask you to do that? You said, no, I just told her I wanted to. So you wrote out a whole paper. Maybe it was second. No, it was first grade.
It was first. I remember.
Yeah, you wrote out and you brought your medicines to show them and you went through everything that you have to do in your postural drainage routine and all of that. And that I was shocked. I mean, I thought for one thing, if the teacher asked you to do that, you'd be devastated. And you
Oh,
weren't. And then the teacher didn't ask you to do it. You just did it on your own because you were just going to let everybody know, hey, this is going on. This is why I'm leaving during class to go get medicine at lunchtime. And you just set it up and it was amazing. And it couldn't have been better for friendships and everything that came after that in school, that you didn't hide it like I saw a lot of parents do and kids do, and you weren't embarrassed of it and, all that kind of stuff. You're like, hey, this is me and this is what I'm doing, and that's it.
I think that's a direct reflection of you and dad teaching me that I had nothing to hide, that
Yeah.
there was nothing to be embarrassed about. I was perfectly fine just the way that I was. And yeah, I've always felt more comfortable being open and honest. And it makes sense for people to have questions, right? Why are you leaving to go get pills? Why are you coughing? Why are you, whatever it is? And makes sense to do just kind of this mass explanation of,
Yes.
you're probably wondering, let me tell you what's going on. So we can move on to the next thing.
Just exactly what you did. Let's move on.
I love you so much, Mom. I hope folks can see the amazing work that you've put in to raise me. I would not be the woman that I am without you and Dad. And yeah, I can't fathom what all this has been like for you guys. And I'm just so
Thank you
grateful.
for that. Oh,
Yeah.
we're blessed to have you and your whole personality and everything about you as our daughter. I mean, we're the lucky ones. We hit the jackpot with you. Definitely.
Yeah. I got a difficult illness, which is a lot easier, but God definitely made it easier by having amazing parents. So I love you so much. Thanks for coming on the
Thank you.
podcast.
Love you too.
Thanks, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights that will empower you on your journey towards abundance. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback means the world to us, and it helps others discover the secrets to an abundant life too. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn, Amy Sylvis. Keep striving for your goals, nurturing your relationships, and embracing the adventure that is life. Until next time, we wish you an abundantly fulfilling day.